Hi, this is Kane Hodder, better known as Jason from Friday the 13th, Victor Crowley from Hatchet. You are listening to Midnight at the Monster Museum. Keep listening, or I'll kill you.
This is Charles Mann. You're listening to Midnight at the Monster Museum.
This is R.A. Mihailoff, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and you're listening to Midnight at the Monster Museum.
Midnight at the Monster Museum. Episode 13. 13!
Wow.
You just dropped chips all over
Is
yourself.
it though? Because the Maxon one's going to be 13, isn't it?
No, we're going to save that one for a little bit.
What?
Yeah, we got to keep one in the chamber. We got to have a little bit of a
Can't do
pad.
interview then interview. And...
Yeah, we don't want to do 2 interviews in a row. So, welcome
Let's start it over.
to Midnight at the Monster Museum episode.
It's our signal.
Hold on. Okay. Let's start it over.
Well, yeah, you're going to check it. You got to cut it off. That's it. No
I
more.
can't turn it off if he was like in the middle of doing the intro that I was saying something.
I think you use all this.
Yeah. People think they jumped in the middle of an episode. Where's the beginning?
The goddamn Christ are shooting spikes in one movie and the next one they're not. Actually, they do in all of them.
I started watching that one, the new one with D. Wall.
It's out?
Yeah.
Is it any
Well,
good?
kind of. Yes and no.
Oh.
It's better than the last binge or the whatever binge, whatever the fuck that was. That piece of shit I hated so much.
Midnight at the Monster Museum, episode 13. Welcome, I'm Tom Devlin. This is Jeff. That's producer Waleed over there.
Hello.
And then, in the middle of this table that we're speaking
Why do
about,
you have 3 cans of soda
our
in front of you?
buddy Blade is laid out in full, I don't know, not full anything. He's being built out of
Get me some head.
metal and
Yeah.
plastic, and we're getting ready to work on this badass Blade movie that comes out.
Comes out.
Yeah, there's a release date.
Oh.
When all the Deadly 10 movies come out, I think it's next November.
They all come at the same time?
Yeah, they come out at the same
you
time.
do
That's
that,
the whole idea.
It's weird.
I don't know. But
You
we're
think you're
filming
week after week.
August 20th in Los Angeles. We'll be filming Blade the Iron Cross, directed by John Lachago. But we are going to start off with our flashback feature being a Full Moon alumni, Dave Parker. And we are going to talk Hills Run Red.
Four friends are searching for a horror film that's been missing for 20 years.
No movie just vanishes without a trace.
But nothing can prepare them for the final cut.
Why the movie? Why is it so important to you?
Because people said it's the scariest thing they've ever seen.
You don't have to do this.
Everybody is expendable for the good of the film.
They're watching. Oh my god, what was that?
The Hills Run Red.
The Hills Run Red was the second feature film that was actually directed by Dave Parker, although he'd been involved with tons of movies. He was a big part of editing video zones and stuff like that for Full Moon. I first discovered Dave Parker when I was setting out to become an effects artist in 2000 with The Dead Hate the Living, which was one of my favorite zombie films at the time.
He directed that, and he co-directed Dead Reborn with Dave Defoe.
Yeah, he co-directed that. He also was a writer on one of the most unfortunate horror films.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. It's awesome.
The only movie that I ever walked out of.
Awful.
House of the Dead.
I don't blame the writing, though. That's all bull.
No, yeah, it's the director. And the thing is that's sad is, like, I thought that was going to be phenomenal. I thought the House of the Dead, because I love The Dead Hate the Living. And if, for those people that, okay, there's two camps in the low-budget horror world, the ones that love Dead Hate the Living and people that absolutely hated it. And I know some good friends of mine, like I know Trent Haga, he really disliked Dead Hate the Living. I believe Danny Draven did not like Dead Hate the Living.
Real quick, though, I just want to note on the House of the Dead, it's pretty sad when the best part of the movie is the slow-mo with the chick with the big boobs running away. That's the best
You know, like
part.
the part where everybody stands on a lazy Susan holding a gun, like they each show their weapon.
Oh, that part's awesome.
No.
Just a close second to the memories.
The House of the Dead is absolutely crap, but Dead Hate the Living was 100% wonderful, made for fans, by fans, with puns for fans. And back then, you didn't get those puns for fans. J.R. Bookwalter's The Dead Next Door had awesome puns for fans, and not until The Dead Hate the Living was that rivaled. And I loved every bit of it. As a horror kid, I became quickly...
You wrote that too, right?
Yeah, I became quickly fascinated with Dave Parker and always wanted to get a chance to work with him. I never have worked with him. I never officially met him, although like it appeared that I stalked him for like 5 years because everywhere I would go, I would see Dave Parker and get all like, oh, that's that guy, Dave Parker. But the weirdest thing is and I preach to everybody, put your portfolio in their face, give them your business card, this, that, the other. I never approached him professionally and was like, hey, man, I should do your effects. And I always thought I should, always. And I never did. And that was crazy because later, I think it was 2009, if I remember correctly, back when when all the slashers were getting reborn, when we got Victor Crowley with Hatchet and we got Leslie Vernon with Behind the Mask, all of a sudden this Hills Have Eyes knockoff looking janky DVD came out called The Hills Run Red.
I think that might have been the problem.
And I saw that movie because I liked crappy asylum knockoff type movies. And it was not a rip-off.
What's weird is it's a cool cover.
Yeah, but they use the fonts. They farm the fonts. They give
that's the thing.
sepia tone.
The movie is far transcends it.
Oh my God!
It's a much better made movie. It's a much better
the moment
movie.
that I started that movie, it just blew me away. It blew me away so far. I was like, this...
Very polished movie.
This is the definitive new slasher. We had Chrome Skull come out with Laid to Rest. We had Hatchet with Victor Crowley.
This should have been a franchise.
This should have been it.
This should have been
Babyface should have had 3 sequels. Yeah. And maybe he still will. Maybe we'll get another Hills Run Red. But it was phenomenal. And it blew me away.
Even though it's still considered a low-budget movie, it originally only had a $350,000 budget.
Yeah.
And the producing team originally behind it didn't believe in it.
Right.
And they thought that one of the other producers that was actually spearheading most of the marketing campaign, like trying to get Warner Brothers on there, they thought that he was trying to do something hinky. And so they didn't believe in it. They thought he was trying to, and so then they cut ties, and then they got Warner Brothers involved, and Joel Silver.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's a huge case.
It's huge.
And, that's a big name.
It was a moment, that late 2009-10 era, I felt like was a really cool time for rising horror film franchises. And this one got swept under the rug because of a terrible cover on the DVD. And that sucked. It starred Tad Hildenbrink, who was known as the Stifler of the direct-to-video American Pie movie.
Was the Bandcamp one.
Yeah, Bandcamp. And
he was also in Disaster Movie, an epic movie. And
he's great. He's awesome.
I think probably his biggest role other than that was in Lost Boys, The Tribe.
Yeah, but I thought he was awesome in that too.
I'm on this.
And that's the thing.
That's
to me,
noteworthy,
At that time, with both Bandcamp and Lost Boys, The Tribe, and this Hills Run Red, I was like, this dude is walking his way up the horror chain too. Like the independent film / horror chain, he's going to be something, and then he's disappeared. He hasn't made anything since these movies, since that era, and that's a real weird thing because I thought he was on fire for a minute, but you know, Lost Boys: The Tribe didn't do as well as I think it should have. I really like that movie, and
well, I mean, it got part 3 made, and I love that movie.
See, I like part 2 better than part 3.
I prefer 3. Well, because of the Frog Brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I love seeing the Frog Brothers come back. So.
And then, but Hills Run Red had a badass story within a story. So they're out searching for a movie.
Well, real quick before we get into that, because I want to do a quick rundown of the credits.
Do it. Credit us.
The writing credits, story credits go to John Carchetta as a story credit. The screenplay is John Dombrow. They're both known mostly for video game writing. And then David Shaw, which...
they write some House of the Dead or what?
No. But you and I talked about this a little bit. Oddly, he was credited for Teleplay. Which...
So I believe possibly there's a movie within the movie, and I think he probably wrote the movie within the movie.
Okay. And he has writing credits on Leatherface, which, you know, obviously...
Texas Chainsaw 3?
Yeah, we just
went over that.
And Critters 3 and 4.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
which I love both of those movies.
Yeah, you and I both love the Critter series. And in my opinion, his biggest one is The Crow. He had writing credits on The Crow.
Oh.
And then... we also talked about this recently. Texas Chainsaw, the beginning. the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie we don't like.
Yeah, that's a crap movie.
Yeah, Dave Barton, he did the makeup effects work.
Dave Barton also worked on Puppet Master 2 and 3. And
did Tales from the Dark Side.
He's also a Trick or Treat Studios alumni.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dave Barton's part of the team.
Yeah, but he worked with KMB and he worked for Kevin Yeager's.
Oh, he's done everything.
Yeah, he's got laundry list of stuff. Yeah, and then the actors real quick, you mentioned Ted, and then we got Sophie Monk.
You know, she almost played Amber Benson's part in Dust Up, a movie I did. And I had actually voted for her because I love Hills Run Red so much. And I'm really glad that they went against my wishes because Amber was so good.
Well, it's so funny that you just kind of said that because I was listening to this cast with both him and with Parker and one of the producers, and she had been doing rounds on interviews claiming that she was up for the role that was played by Heather Graham in The Hangover, and she passed it up to do this movie, and it's her biggest regret because she passed up the role, and they were saying this story, and this is, she tells that story, it's a bunch of shit. So she wasn't up for that role at all. So where they got the information, I trust it, you know.
No, the thing is, and actors are weird because, like, so she may have been brought in on an audition, but it doesn't mean she was up for it. You know what I mean? And that's how it was with Dust Up. She was brought in to audition. It was between her and Amber Benson, and they asked my opinion, and I said, man, I love the Hills Run Red. We need to use this chick. But I'm so glad we didn't because Amber was such a motherly-looking girl.
Well, she's good in this movie, but I have to say also, you know, I'm glad because I didn't mean to catch you out there, but based on what you're just saying, based on the way they talked about her,
she might not have been the right fit.
She didn't appreciate this role because she's good in the movie.
Yeah,
but, you know.
Yeah. Has she gone on to do anything else?
Not really. I mean, she's been in No.
She's an extra in The Walking Dead.
Well, she was in Click, and then I think the other one, she had a role on Entourage, but that's about it. Bit parts here and there. The great William Sadler.
Oh, he's awesome. He's awesome in this movie.
He's awesome in everything he's in.
Yeah, he's really good in this.
He's in The Mist, the bad guy in Die Hard 2. My favorite is, we brought him up the other day. Well, not him, but the movie is Bogus Journey.
Oh, yeah.
And word is he's going to reprise that role.
That's awesome.
He's going to reprise that role.
I don't know how they got him in this little horror film because he plays such a juicy part.
Apparently there was a death in the family too, and they said he's really professional and that he was going through a really hard time, but he was really cool the whole time.
That's awesome.
Despite the fact he was dealing with all this drama and stuff. Also Alex Wyndham, he plays Lalo. He's done mostly just like low-level TV work. Janet Montgomery, she's probably the most prominent actor other than William Sadler. She's done mainly TV work. She had a role in Black Swan. but the roles that she's had in TV are higher profile. Like she's on This Is Us right now, which is one of the biggest TV shows on TV.
Yeah.
And also, one of my favorite shows that got canceled was called Human Target. It was based on a comic book. It's really awesome. And then Danko Jordanov, he plays Babyface.
Babyface is and that guy, he's like from Italy. They shot in Romania or Italy or something, and he is of that, like that's where he's from. So we won't see him in American slasher films anytime soon.
Well, he was in Wrong Turn 6 apparently.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was in Wrong Turn 6.
Maybe they shot it over there.
In Game of Thrones, and then Universal Soldier Regeneration, which I think is awesome. In fact, the official part 2 and 3, not the direct-to-video ones, I think are better than the original. I know this is not what we're talking, but people should really watch those movies because they're awesome.
Well, I thought he was awesome as a slasher, and
he was incredible. I mean, I gotta say, I want you to, of course, go back on that track that I caught you off on where we started talking about the movie, but I just loved it. I loved it though when she starts singing the song. And he's doing that thing where you think it's having an effect on him, and she's crying because she thinks she's trying to, and then you can keep singing that song, it'll make you feel it. It's so awesome. But he doesn't say it in a fucked up voice, even though he is kind of a Mongoloid. He doesn't say it in a fucked up voice. He doesn't act like he's in a trance. He doesn't even act like he's a psycho. Just very calm. You can keep singing that song, it'll make you feel better.
So just quick to give you a plot rundown on this movie. It did come out in 2009, which most of our flashback features are early 90s, late 80s kind of movies, but this has been out for long enough and not enough people know about it, so I want you all to watch it. There's a movie within a movie, and there's this legendary movie. Think of it as Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Think of it as Blair Witch. It's something that never got quite released. It had been finished. It's become this legend and lore of horror conventions that it exists, and William Sadler's character is the director, and so Tad Hildebrink and his buddies, they decide to find the footage, find the film, go to the locations, find the directors, find out what happened to this movie. And that movie was called The Hills Run Red, and the actual poster for the actual movie is badass with the blood fountain coming down the hill. Oh my god!
It took 5 55-gallon drums.
Yeah, and that's old student of mine, Graham Schofield. He helped with that blood work on the stuff coming down the hills. And I think that was out of Roy Kinnear's shop. I think that was at Monsters or Soda Fest.
Say I like your blood better.
Yeah, we're not comparing notes here, but
because I will say that the practical effects in this movie are awesome. But that my one few complaints is the blood looks very bright and very fake, actually, in many of the scenes.
So these kids are making a documentary about finding this lost horror film, and as they go down the rabbit hole, they realize it was more of a snuff film. I mean, it was...
that's what they find out. They find out when they track him down, is that... They really fucking... The original Babyface was because the guy wasn't doing a good enough job. He's like, here, let me show you. And he puts on the gun cannon, and he takes the fucking axe and just kills the guy. That's how you do it.
Exactly.
That's how you do it.
So they find a psychopath, and a psychopath that had made a movie, and then their movie kind of turns into this... oh shit, we're in it, and they're now living a horror film, and it's done so seamlessly. Like, I could actually imagine me and my friends hunting this lost legacy and becoming part of it.
It reminds me. It's like, to me, it's like the new Halloween. They have those people that want to delve into what happened.
Right.
So instead of Behind the Mask, where they have the crew that goes to this guy, it's after this has happened, and it's documentary crew doing that, and it turns into it much like, but this one is never funny.
Right.
So it's got that same
yeah.
thing. Yeah, I think you did bring that up, huh?
Yeah.
Behind the Mask, yeah.
Behind the Mask is a great... It's similar in a way because the film crew looking at a horror tale, but the difference is it's real. They're documenting real life horror. But what creates this fictional world of slashers?
And they don't know that it was a real slasher.
Right.
They thought what they were watching
These guys think they're finding a movie, you know, and that movie being an actual document of what happened.
But it goes even further because they originally tracked down the daughter, who is a stripper now.
Yeah.
And the guy gets her off of drugs and shit like that, and then they take her into the woods, and then out of nowhere, Babyface shows up, and they play it up like she's terrified of him and stuff, and then it takes a turn, and then they realize that she's in on it.
Yeah, it's been a trap, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is with Babyface is, so he's a doll-face
And
killer.
they're kind of making a sequel.
And doll-face masks have gotten very popular as of recent, but before Babyface, I don't remember seeing a lot of them. But it was a doll-face killer with like a mandible human jaw. It's super
badass.
cool. I believe John Fuller sculpted it. I thought that was true, but we can't really.
He wasn't credited.
Yeah,
and
he's
you told me
not.
that,
He's
and I
not
was like,
credited, and I could be wrong, but he
But that
might have
wouldn't be
been
the first time
He
things
might have been working for Dave Barton, or he may have replicated it. I'm not positive, but it has a very John Fuller look. Which, if you're familiar with his sculptures, he's got a lot of cracks, lines, dirt, dinge, stuff that.
You've done work though that you have not gotten credited for, though. So,
Oh, tons,
so
tons, yeah.
It's possible.
It is possible. And that sculpt is so powerful that I will share a personal story. When I was on Face Off, the reality show I was on, Sean Cunningham hosted an episode where we had to make a horror villain, and my immediate thought was, well, I'm going to knock off Babyface. Like, I'm totally going to pull out a Babyface type character. And on the bus back from Universal Studios, this girl, Sam, goes, I'm going to make a doll face character. We can't both do that. And I was like, God, man, that sucks, because I knew what I wanted to do. And so I thought of what else affected me as a child as much as like a baby doll, and that's where I pulled the Teddy Ruxpin thing and came up with my Teddy Told Me To character. So Teddy Told Me To had originally been a doll face character that should have been more like Babyface, but through a little bit of a veer in the road, I was able to come up with something that people remember and people care about, and now Jeff is drawing comic books of. So,
I almost thought for a second there you were going to go, oh, that sucks. You should probably pick a different thing.
well, and I'll be honest, I kind of thought that. Like, well, yeah, okay, we can't both do a doll. I mean, we could. And if you watch the series, she made a doll face thing, and it didn't fare well. But, I mean, not that it was terrible work. Sam's great. It just was it wasn't powerful enough. I feel terrible. Sam, you're great, and your piece was awesome. Thank you for convincing me to not do a doll face and do a teddy bear face. Because of my teddy bear, I've now got a little weird fan base, you know. So.
That was what did it.
Yeah.
I'm part of that fan base. So
Sure.
Whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, this whole time I was being kind of quick as I was trying to find some kind of information on Tad, and I can't find anything. Nobody, they was just musings that maybe he retired from acting and took a break, or maybe he died. That's what.
Oh, man.
It's like just.
You might have retired.
He might be dead.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely love Bandcamp. I thought that both him and
The direct-to-video movies are actually.
yeah, Bandcamp with Tad and Adriana Pilecki. That's her
Adrian
name?
Palicki.
Adrian Palicki. She was awesome. That was such an awesome American Pie installment. And I liked The Longest Mile or The Longest
Naked
Yard or whatever it was. Naked Mile. And there was one more that wasn't so good. But, hey, Naked Mile, Stifler, he plays his cousin, is the dude from Jeremiah Jordan from Evil Bong.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
1, 2, and 3, and 4 and 5. I didn't work on 4 and 5, and I haven't watched it, but I imagine Jeremiah Jordan's in there.
And then they didn't get.
Hey, and you want to hear something weird? Jeremiah Jordan, who was in Evil Bong and also in Naked Mile, went to high school with Alan Maxon.
Oh.
That's
Okay.
that's bizarre. Yeah. Anyway,
I went to the same high school as Hillary Swank.
did you? Did she wear a yellow leather jacket?
I did not know her personally.
Was there a yellow leather jacket involved?
I only briefly.
Did you
went
see
at
a
the same
yellow
time she
leather
did.
jacket though?
No, I did not.
Ah, that means there was no vampires.
What I did get is I got all these people that when she went, they were talking all kinds of shit about her and saying that there was no way she was going to make anything. And then when she did, they were all like, oh, I knew she'd make it. I love her so much. She's my favorite. I believe her the whole time.
My dad went to high school with Meryl Streep, and he loves to talk about Meryl Streep like they were buddies. But
Comedian Ryan Stiles lives in my hometown, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What
I
a
saw
guy.
him. I dealt cards to him.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, back to the movie.
Yeah.
There's a huge body count in this movie. There's lots of blood, even though you'd think it looks silly. There's great makeup
body
effects.
count?
I don't know. There's, what, 6? 3?
Well, I guess you can't... Yeah,
What about that theater of dead people?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
There's a lot of dead people in this movie.
Yeah, but... Well,
you don't
you
see
didn't
them
watch
die.
them die.
No, but they're there and they're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a really good twist.
There's a couple of good twists.
Yeah, it's a twisty, turny, little fun movie.
Yeah, good twist. You find out that not only is Babyface the son of Alexa, Sophie Month's character, but also the son of Cannon, who is William Sadler, who is the father of Alexa.
There's definitely some incest in this movie.
Well, it's not even implied. I mean, he straight up says
No,
it,
yeah.
and it's talked about. And,
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what? That's not even possible. He's like, she was 13. That's what he says. Yeah. She was 13.
That's disgusting.
Right?
Well, I mean, hey.
Well, I think
that's probably why she grew up to be a stripper and a murderer.
Well, it was knowledge within the movie that she was 10 years old in the movie.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that she was actually 13.
Right.
So
and they convinced their son to cut his face up and sew it up. And, you know, that's pretty powerful watching that kid.
Well, and then it's also in the mid-credit scene that his seed's been passed on to Serena, who's Janet Montgomery's character. But apparently they did actually film a rape scene. I mean, it's implied that that's what they go and do. I mean, especially when she ends up pregnant. But it was in the movie and they cut it out. Oh. So probably didn't need it. It was a... Now,
Dave Parker has not directed since this movie.
He hasn't?
I don't think so. I don't think he has.
I think he has, but nothing... I actually did. I had that. I think he has, but nothing... Oh, Nartwood? We'll have to find out. Oh yeah, he did a segment on that Tales of Halloween with.
Oh, that makes sense.
It wasn't with Trent.
Right.
Trent did he did a segment of his own, and then what did he do? He did the Sweet Tooth one. With Greg Grunberg, I know that.
Okay.
Let's see.
So he's done some shorts and stuff, but I don't think he's done another feature film.
It Watches.
Oh, he did that. Mm-hmm. That was pretty good, actually.
Well, and then he did the Dead Reborn after it. He co-directed with David Cotto.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
4 years after.
That was a 13 films.
And apparently he, in 2018, directed Bunker of Blood, Chapter 5, Psycho Sideshow Demon Freaks.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
You got two colons in there. Yeah. No, 3 colons. Look at that.
That's a triple colon.
The trifecta of colons.
There you go. Well, hats off to Dave Parker for Hills Run Red because
I'm sorry. I want to point because we got away. We used to talk about like best kills and stuff like that,
right?
And then we had some movies where there weren't really any kills, so I think we got away.
Right.
And I still don't know it's my favorite kill, but what I do love this one spot is when they're torturing the dude. They put that shackle around him.
Oh yeah.
And she's cutting him up, and that's when Cannon shows up. And he's like, what are you doing? Because she's directing the segment, and he's just like, no. And he literally, I hate when actors try to do more than they're supposed to do, and everything, and it becomes pseudo meta, and then he's all like, look at this. He's like a ball gag, and this is torture porn. He's you don't get the emotion here, and he pulls the ball gag out of the guy's mouth, or Lalo's mouth, and he's like, please, just let me. He's like, yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. And then she says something because they both go meta, because then she says, this is bullshit. He says, you don't know what talking about is this. We don't need to see this subtext. Existential shit in our kills. Just get to the kill already. So it's like two different.
It's the old school versus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was great. It was a great moment.
It was like Saw versus,
classic slasher.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I don't know what my favorite kill would be in it. I love the barbed wire stuff. The effects wise, even with Babyface like tightening his mask on and stuff, and him cutting his face up as a kid. But
in the movie, they did have the one dude, or the one girl, I think. It was a girl. It was a girl, right? That gets like...
Yeah.
People didn't see what I just did. Do you think that the wheelchair thing's an homage?
Oh, 100%.
Because originally, the original script was supposed to be packed full of references and homages and stuff. There's some here and there.
It's kind of neat that they went away from it.
Yeah, I'm glad they did because it's its own thing. It's not
especially with the Dead Hate the Living is so dialogue heavy and homage heavy of past films. You don't want to become a one-trick pony. But I think that there's definitely homages in there and character trait, like even that thing you just said about like the old school versus new school. There's film theory within the movie, but there's not like blatant like he's not taking portions of Angela's character from Sleepaway Camp and putting it in somebody else's mouth.
I do have one complaint about something that happens in the movie, and it's I mean, maybe I don't think I missed something, but Alexa gets shot. Kokanen shoots Alexa, and then that's why Babyface rebels and ends up killing Kokanen. And then it turns out she's not dead, but she got shot.
Right.
Well, you'd never know it later. she's just back normal. I mean,
maybe it was a squib. Maybe it was an effect shot.
I thought I missed something. I was like, did she fake it? What? That's my only complaint.
So maybe that was his way to get Babyface to turn on him for real, and that was him directing Babyface by fake shooting his mom.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. That's actually a good besides, but he seemed to not really want Babyface to kill him. And originally he was supposed to smash his face in with the camera, but instead he just stabs him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe I would have liked the camera better.
Maybe.
I think that would have been pseudo.
It's more cinematic.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
Cinema snap.
Like the camera going into the face.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. But oh well, it's a fantastic movie. I'm not complaining about that. Actually, so.
All right. So do we get right down to these hypno swirls?
Hypno swirls. Wally, what did you give it?
Wally's never seen it.
He did. I talked about it when he don't remember
the Babyface thing. I remember. I don't think I watched the whole thing. I've seen
so good.
Well, I started describing the movie, and he's like, wait a minute. He says, what's the cover? And he wanted me to bring up the cover, and I told him what the cover was.
Yeah, and then I was like, I have seen this, but I have to watch it.
Well, you should watch it again. You should watch it again, and anybody listening to this podcast should watch it.
You would give it...
It might have been a thing where, like, I started watching it, and then I was like, oh, this is just going to be like a Hills Have Eyes ripoff.
But see, you would think that from the cover, but the moment you start the movie, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's so
good.
good.
Nice boobs in it, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
both Montgomery and Monk's boobs. And some randos, too.
Did you say Monk's boobs?
Yeah.
Sophie Monks.
Not like a
Not like, what's his face?
Not Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub.
and not like a Buddhist monk either. I mean, I know that you were,
No. So, anyway, getting back to Hypno Swirls, I'm going to give it a 5. I give it a 5.
I'll give it a 5.
All right. We agree on this one.
We've agreed on that,
I think we agree more often than not, close to it. You don't
well,
like
I just don't often break it, and so it's like, mine were usually pretty high, so.
Well, this is a great slasher film, and like I said, for that time that Cabin in the Woods had come out, and Hatchet, and Behind the Mask, Laid to Rest, I put this right at the top with Victor Crowley. Those two should have become action figures. Babyface and Victor Crowley.
Victor Crowley had a series.
Yeah, it had 3, and I would love to see more Hills Run Red. Wrong Turn had also come out around that time, a little earlier, but I mean, they're up to Wrong Turn 6 or something, or Wrong Turn 8.
At least 6.
And
I think there's a 7.
It's crazy to me. I really liked Part 3, but it's just bizarre that this movie never generated.
I think it really had to do with marketing and stuff because they wouldn't even put it on Blu-ray. That was an interesting tidbit too I learned is because Robert Meyer Burnett, who's one of the producers and stuff, he's a videographer too, and he's done a lot of great behind-the-scenes work for some big-name movies. He did some videography and behind-the-scenes work for that on his own dime in HD. He's good at this stuff. I've seen a lot of his, and he wanted to put on this, and they wouldn't let him at first.
That's crazy.
It wasn't going to cost him a damn thing.
Right.
He paid for everything. He wasn't asking for anything, and he had to coax them into doing it.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make any sense. But then also, there was a brief tinkering, toying with the idea of theatrical, but they were saying it was never serious. They never actually thought it would.
But then movies like Tamara go theatrical.
Well, this is one of those sub labels,
Yeah.
and it didn't last very long. And shortly after that, I think they produced one other movie. There was only 3 or 4 movies on this label.
Yeah.
And then right after this one, they did one other, and then they canceled the brand, which is not having faith in it at all. So.
Right. Well, it was a fun movie, and it still is.
Well, they made a good point too, is that Warner's shooting themselves in the foot because you go back to old school Full Moon, which they were from. Both Robert Burnett was too. One of the that it farmed filmmakers that became far more than their low budget roots and stuff, and that's where you get your talent from without having to pay big huge monies and stuff for it. And instead, they're just no, we'll go make our big budget, Harry Potter movies or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's their words, actually, not mine.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. I think everybody should watch it. And
there's only 6 wrong turn movies.
There's 6.
How many wrongs make a right?
Well, eventually you go a 360, and so eventually, even if you're taking a left turn, you go far enough, you will end up at the same spot you would take if you took the right turn.
So I think we'll do a quick Waleed top 3.
Throwing a Henry Rollins in there, that didn't save him.
That's my favorite one, actually.
Part 2?
Part 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so cut that out.
It's too small.
In fact, no, bleep out what he said and then keep that in there. Because that's great that we both said it at the same time.
All right.
Bleep it. Just bleep it, and then you got to have that there.
So we're gonna
cut that out.
We're gonna do Waleed top 3. Waleed.
I thought I was doing Scream. What are you doing?
We will. We'll do
You're doing the 3 before.
Waleed top 3.
What's happening now?
What's your top 3 favorite slashers?
Top 3 favorite slashers. Oh, Jason Voorhees.
Did we do this top 3 already?
No.
Okay.
No.
No, we've only done a couple of the top 3.
Okay, good.
Well, we did try to do a top 7 at one point.
Let's do
No, there's way too many options.
Waleed top 3. Jason Voorhees, number 1.
Jason, Freddy, and...
So Freddy.
Huh?
So Freddy is one?
Yeah.
Freddy's
okay.
number 2. All right. Who's number 3?
Now, well, see, this is not enough. Look at this.
That's why it's great. That's why it's great.
Yeah, but now, there's more than this, but Leatherface, Michael Myers. Okay, now what? Well, you got one more option. Leatherface and Michael Myers. And that's
Jason, Freddy,
never mind anybody
Michael
else.
Myers.
Yeah.
Hey, you get 3, bud. You only get 3. Pick them.
Mechagodzilla.
Baby Godzilla.
He's back for revenge.
No. So we've got Jason.
Yeah.
Which you're wearing a Jason shirt right now, so that makes sense. We've got Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
You can only have one more.
This is like one of those island situations.
Sure.
I don't get to bring 3 slasher killers with me on the island.
Oh, that'd suck. You're dead.
Yeah. So I want to pick something like obscure and cool, but I'll just go Leatherface. Whatever.
Leatherface is pretty fucking cool.
Like you left out Michael Myers.
Well, sometimes chainsaws are cooler than knives.
I'm not questioning. I'm just pointing out a fact.
I've noticed there's like a thing where people like Jason or Michael Myers. It's like
that's a thing.
one of the other
that's a thing.
too.
Well, because they're
I'm
very
more of a-
similar. They're non-speaking,
Knife-wielding.
non-emotive slashers.
Mask wearers.
Mask wearing, yeah.
I'm a Jason guy, first of all.
Yeah.
I love Michael Myers, but I am a Jason guy through and through. I've been a Jason and a Leatherface guy since I was a kid. I like everything else. I love them all, but Jason and
Well,
Leatherface.
his films definitely have a better consistency.
Yeah.
Because like the bad Halloween movie, so bad.
Yeah, when
We're talking about
Like Halloween
ghost
6,
people or-
Halloween 8.
I'm the bounty hunter.
The fact that Busta Rhymes literally doesn't.
No, that movie doesn't exist. That movie doesn't even exist. I don't know what you're talking about. And it did not come out 17 years ago yesterday.
Well, see, it's hard because, I mean, I have to acknowledge that continuity because I do love H2O.
I love H2O.
And I do love... Well, that's so weird because Halloween 4 is a pretty great movie, and then Halloween 5 retcons it, even though it's a direct sequel, and it does the weird... It does like the Saturday matinee cliffhanger serial shit where it looks like one thing happened and then they just change it. They just change what happened in the next movie. not even like, oh, this is what you think happened.
But that's exactly what happens with that movie that doesn't exist, H2O. That's exactly what happens. The same thing.
Was the guy's tongue gone or something? Or should be like, hey, I'm not the guy you're about to kill.
No, because he gets blown... Michael Myers literally gets blown up in part 4 at the end of 4.
Yeah, in 4.
And then they just cut that part. When they recap it, they cut that part out when they show the recap.
And he falls down the ditch and, you know, and all that. I guess, yeah, and then they do it in the H2O and then the one that didn't exist.
Yeah,
it's not totally because it's actually capable of, that's the way it's capable of saying that is the way it happened. You don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't see Michael Myers blow up like we did in part 4. Where he clearly died a certain way.
But we did see his head get chopped off.
Yeah, his head gets
we
chopped
saw
off.
his head get chopped off.
But it turned out to be just a security guard or like a paramedic or something.
We don't know for a fact that he didn't get switched.
I do know for a fact. I do know that was Michael Myers. And he got his head cut off, and Jamie Lee finished what she started.
I saw some
she finished what she started.
I saw some.
Otherwise, why wouldn't the paramedic just be like, hey, stop, and use his voice?
His throat.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, they showed him crush his larynx.
No, it's stupid. That movie doesn't exist. It didn't happen.
That's actually the only thing I liked about that movie at all is that it at least was live.
We are now going to move into our modern feature. Our modern feature being a TV series that I thought was pretty badass, and we're talking about season 3.
That's a reboot.
It's a reboot of the rest of the seasons, which is weird, but it's
zero to do with the first 2 seasons.
It is Scream. And one of the coolest things about this series, which I didn't know was coming, was a while back we had Tony Todd here at the Monster Museum, and he took a picture with the Scream Ghost, and he posted it on Instagram and said, look who's coming for you in season 3. And it was so awesome. It kind of went viral a little bit. That picture showed up on Bloody Disgusting and Dread Central, and it was so cool. But I was like, but that's the regular ghost face mask. I don't get this. Am I firm to believe now that the real ghost face mask comes back in the series?
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
That's the cool thing is that, to me, they could totally take Scream and do what they do with Michael Myers. They could do what they do with Jason. They can just take the character and have it transcend. It's not... Because
it doesn't have to be Billy Loomis.
The fact that it is a 5 and dime costume has been around forever, and then they even play that up that it goes to a party, everybody has a stupid costume. And I'll start off by saying that's one complaint I have about it.
Because not everybody wears that anymore.
Well, no, that's not what it is. Is that there's a party that they know that everybody got this costume. They know it. All the people that are involved in it. And then anytime they go, what are you doing with this thing? It's like, there's a fucking party where everybody was handing the thing. What do you mean, what are you doing with this thing? You were at the party.
So here's my question. How big of a part does Tony Todd have in this? Is he in it?
He's integral to the proceedings. Uh-huh. And they even go as far as doing as close as they can, even though he is not supernatural, to doing a wink nod to Candyman versus Ghostface.
Oh, cool.
Although I do have to complain, I do not like the hook that he has.
Oh.
This does not look anything like Candyman hook at all.
All right. But still, it's like a little
It's clearly the...
I hear that he's coming back to be in the new Jordan Peele Candyman.
Yes.
Is he playing Candyman?
I don't think so, because I heard that somebody else is playing Candyman, but that Candyman is not supposed to be the same Candyman.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
All right. Well, even if he just flashes in the window or something, I'd be happy. I'd be happy to see him.
As far as this show goes, I will start off by quick credits. R.J. Seiler plays Dion Elliott. he was the guy who played the Blue Ranger in the reboot movie.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. I know, and he was on the new Swamp Thing series too.
Oh, I didn't see it yet.
I'll say he played the de facto jock guy, and I'm gonna name off some stereotypes and stuff like that, and I'll tell you why in a second. But Georgia Wiggum, she's also been on the Orville and the Punisher series. She plays Beth, the goth chick, knower of all horror stuff, horror movies.
Okay, so she's our Randy of the group.
Ish.
All right.
Singer Keke Palmer, she plays Kim. She's also one of the producers in the movie. She plays Kim, and she's the urban chick, but she's also the social justice warrior of them. Christopher Jordan Wallace, he plays Amir. He's the sort of nerdy, geeky guy. And then Julian Yao, I can't pronounce his name. Starts with the G, sorry if anybody knows him, but I'd rather not butcher his name. He's played an Iron Fist. He's mainly the gay kid. And like I said, there's a reason why I'm being just so blatantly stereotypical what I describe this. Jessica Sula, she plays Olive. That's right. She was one of the girls in. Did you ever see Split? You didn't see Split.
I did see Split.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
She was the dark skinned girl in Split.
Oh, I didn't see Split. I saw Splice. Different movie.
Well, she plays Olive, the cheerleader.
Okay.
But the reason why I mention them all as stereotypes is, despite the fact that you can categorize them, one thing I respect about this show is they do a really good job of not making them. Well, they play a word thing on it, and they say they're the Dead Fist Club. But they do a good job of mixing up the stereotypes. They're not just straight stereotypes. Like, even though Amir is the nerdy kind of geeky guy, he's like the big guy of the group.
Yeah.
And the cheerleader, she doesn't like being a cheerleader, and she actually probably has more of the...
It's kind of like Power Rangers.
Ish. Well, I don't know. They were pretty straight up stereotypes.
Yeah, but like Kimberly didn't want to be so popular or whatever. And same thing with Jason was all like, I don't want to be a football
That is
player.
a fair enough thing. But, well, okay.
My dad makes me.
But even though the gal is like a social justice warrior, even though I said that, one thing I do also respect about the show is they don't preach shit, because Jamie and I were watching this, and we started rolling our eyes because we thought that that's what they were doing. And then they turned it on its ear for what was happening. They were basically like, save your fucking political shit for other times, because you're not always right, and and stuff like that, and don't make a big deal out of shit. But anyhow, now that I got that all out of the way, one thing I really like about the show is it's not. I know that you really liked the Tweeny Bopper.
I like Tweeny Boppers.
Tweeny Bopper, Dawson's Creek-esque nature of the other seasons.
I wouldn't say Dawson's
It's gone.
Creek.
Whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Writer or something like that?
Kevin Williamson was the writer of Dawson's Creek and Scream, but not the TV series.
He wrote the story treatment for it.
Oh, for TV series?
Yep.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy it.
He did not on this.
I like the first season, and I like the second season, and I'm sure I'll love the third.
I don't know. I liked it better than the first two. I don't know if you will. I think you could, but it really depends. If you go in watching it as its own thing.
Is it at all related to any of the Scream movies?
No, but it reminded me more of the Scream movies.
Because I love the movies. I love all of them.
It reminded me more of the Scream movies. There's no explanation for, much like the first two seasons, why there's a Ghostface killer, or why they're using the Ghostface voice.
But the first one, the first two seasons, it's not Ghostface. It's more like Blade from Littlest Reich.
Yeah, and I hate that. So I always likened that to an S&M mask mixed with Evil Ed from. But
or it kind of looks a little bit like Linnea Quigley's character when she turns into a zombie.
But I will say, the bloodiest kills of the franchise
are in this show.
This season, not the show franchise, the franchise period.
It's season 3.
No, the entire, even the movies. It's bloodier than anything in the movies.
That's impressive, considering that Drew Barrymore killing.
And there were some things. I was like, whoa. I was like, okay. So really surprised they showed that on TV, and it was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
There's some great practical effects, and they keep the CGI blood to a minimum. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I wonder who did the effects.
Yeah, I meant to look that up.
It probably shot in Canada. I think it's shot in Canada.
A lot of those shows are shot up there.
Yeah. I don't know.
I will say that the acting is hit and miss. There's a couple, like Tyga, the rapper, he plays a prominent role in it. He's awful. He's so awful. But, like the main kid who plays Dion. Well, I'll tell you the basic rundown of it. It starts out with little Dion dressed up as Ghostface on Halloween. I think what was it? I think it was 12 years ago. It might be less than that. I don't remember. And him and his brother are going trick-or-treating. He gets his candy stolen. You don't know his brother's trick-or-treating yet. But then after he gets his candy stolen, then his little brother decides, hey, we're going to go get your candy back. His brother was always the more popular one and more likely to succeed, whatever. But then when they go into this creepy junkyard, which is where Tony Todd's character resides in, and
You don't even want to fuck with that Mac Daddy.
there's some lore to him, of course, as there should be, and some mistakes happen, and it seems that Tony Todd. This happens in the first one. Tony Todd kills one of the kids. At the time, it looks like it's nefarious, but there's more to it than that. Well, it turns out they're actually twin brothers. You don't know that at the time because he's wearing the Ghostface mask, but they're twin brothers, and so now the twin lives with the
twins?
lives with the idea that he left his brother to die, and so of course there's that. Did he actually die or did he actually live? Is the twin involved in what's going on? What is
Yeah, twins can screw everything up, man.
Yeah, that's what the big lore is about, whether or not the brother did actually live through it, and is he exacting revenge for being left by his brother and stuff. So,
well, don't spoil the end of this thing, because the best part about all this
find out who the
stuff,
killers are, and things happen.
Cool.
There you go.
That's good. So don't spoil it. The show sounds awesome, and I know you think maybe there's a possibility I won't like it, but I love anything attached to Scream, and I think that I probably will like it. So I'm going to definitely check this one out.
Most of the red herrings are pretty good ones.
That's good.
In my opinion, anyway. Because that's one thing that bothered me about the other one is when you were getting red herring.
And you're like,
most of the time,
come on.
It's a bunch of shit. They're just trying to hurry off the scent. But then I will say that sometimes it's a valid red herring. Sometimes it actually is what you think, and then other times you think it's so blatant that there's no way it could be, and then it is, and then sometimes it was deliberately blatant to make you think things. So they do a good job of that.
Right.
But overall, I did mention to you earlier when we were talking about prior that it's unbalanced in the sense that there was a couple episodes directed by the same person and some of the writing thing. First two episodes, fantastic. We were gung-ho because they did three nights, 2 episodes a piece every night. So it was like a movie a night, basically.
Yeah.
And that first night, Jamie and I were all in. We were like, oh, this is so good. Second night, we were looking forward to it, and like 10 minutes into it, we're like, why do I feel like I'm watching something different now? It felt like I were watching somebody's high school version of it and stuff, and it was just not good. And there was plot holes, there was bad editing. We were like, what the hell is going on? And then it got better in the 4th episode, 5th episode. So 3rd and 5th are the shittiest episodes.
But it ends good.
Up pretty strong.
Ends strong.
It finished up pretty strong. First 2 episodes, in my opinion, are absolute strongest. But the 6th episode is pretty decent, as was the 4th.
Cool.
So, but season as a whole, I'll probably give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
4 out of 5.
But that's not a 3, so I'll take it. I mean, Critters was like -0.
I consider a 3 good too.
Yeah.
3 out of 5.
Yeah.
So
3 out of 5.
it's when I go under a 3.
Meatloaf said that.
So when I go under a 3, like when I knocked off another half a point off Return of Spawn. No. that was out of spite, though. I like
You
Return
guys were talking about the original, the season 1 and 2 Scream mask. It just popped in my head. It looked more like that painting, the Scream.
That's kind of what it was.
That's what it was based off of.
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is, people think that the original Ghostface was based off of the Scream painting, but it never was. Actually,
It was originally called Scary Movie, too.
Yeah, and John Vulich, I think it was, had sculpted, it was either John Vulich or Kevin Yeager, had sculpted, or it could have been Tony Gardner, sculpted a ghost face mask that he wore to a Halloween party, and Funland saw it and started making those masks. So it was never based off of Scream, but the painting Scream. But yeah, and the movie was originally called Scary Movie.
Yeah, which is ironic since they ended up turning the parody into Scary Movie.
Yeah. So, all that being said, I'm excited to see that show, and I think that I think we could do.
Well, it had been held up I actually don't know why, but there was some form of litigation that was going on because it's been in the can for over a year. And
It's weird the way they aired it in 3 days too.
Yeah,
that's strange.
I don't know why they did that either, but I actually kind of liked it.
But at least it got out, and at least it got done. Like, I'm not actually a big fan of that Mockingbird Lane Munster spinoff thing with.
You're talking about Jerry O'Connell.
I'm not really a big fan of that, but like, it was one of those things. They made it, and finally they got to show it off at least. But
I like as a Munsters related thing. I didn't like it as its own thing.
It worked fine, cool. And the effects were great as its own thing. But as a Munsters thing, it was way closer to the Addams Family than the Munsters, and that's what I didn't get about it. But
Given the way you said that, like certain episodes of that show were edited and cut together real quick, do you think it was supposed to be longer? Do you think it would have helped it?
It's not story beats really. Like there's this one spot when the car has gone off the road and this person.
And they say, "I know what you did,"
and you don't know whether or not she died or whatever, and then somebody else ends up.
There's a fisherman
getting killed. Then she comes up out of nowhere and she's all like, "I couldn't help it. I was running off the road," as if she was in the middle of a story, and you're like, "What?" Yeah. And then they know who's in the car when they shouldn't know who's in the car, dying. When you see the car is completely engulfed in flames. And it's like, how did you even know the person was in the car? And even if you could tell somebody's in the car, how did you know it was them? Because it's a ball of flame, and you just ran up to it, and the car, I mean, there's nothing left of that person.
So there very well could have been just a big chunk that just nobody will ever see in that.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just the pacing was not good. And, well, that's the thing, is the other episodes are fine. So I have to believe that it was just that director, because just those two episodes are just absolutely weak.
And they're both the same director.
Same director, yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Wheel of Death.
Well, any cupping events or anything like that? Nothing? No? We
do have
it all.
Well, we just got over a big weekend, the whole thing with Ari Mihailoff here. You guys are going to hear that podcast already by now, and it was a great time, great weekend. We've been pretty beat up, just trying to work on the Deadly 10 stuff, moving on Blade. But
I don't have to get wrist surgery for now, which is awesome.
Jeff's got stung by a scorpion. That was something.
I did.
But
that sucked ass.
The baby scorpion, right? Like a tiny scorpion.
It was probably a baby scorpion,
worse.
which is way worse. Yeah, because I got it clearly dumped its load in me.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the other thing that's going to happen here on August 1st, we are filming a television show here in the museum, and that'll be pretty cool. It's about horror collections and artwork, and that'll be good, and I'll give you more info as we get closer. And yeah, I mean, things are moving here at the Monster Museum. If you guys listen to this podcast and you come in and you mention it to us, we'll give you a sticker. So there you go. If you listen to the podcast,
what kind of sticker we can give?
We're going to give them a Midnight at the Monster Museum podcast sticker. And and that's something that we got here. And if for some reason we run out because you guys all show up tomorrow, then we'll get some more made. That would be cool. But with that being said, let's move on to this Wheel of Death. And
hey, I'll throw you soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul!
Swallow this.
I think that we have something that Jeff is probably not going to survive. And that is...
Oh, ye of little faith.
That is going to be Henrietta from Evil Dead. The original Henrietta, not this remake seller thing. Although
it wasn't Henrietta.
Oh, it's not Henrietta, okay.
Although she did reappear in Ash vs. Evil Dead. Like,
Okay. Yeah,
literally the
yeah.
exact same Henrietta.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. How would you defeat?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
How
Did
would you defeat
Henrietta actually kill anybody?
Well, she did scream a bunch. Dead by dawn, swallow your soul. So swallow your fucking soul!
Yeah, but as far as dying, I mean, sure, I may become one of the Evil Dead, but would I actually die?
I think that means your human body is no longer.
I beg to differ since Ash became a Deadite and then lived to tell about it.
That's true.
I am all about the sentimental trinkets. All I need is something to look at and cry and fuck yes. I live. Thank you much. Thank you. You paved the way for me. Said it right there. I'm all about the fucking sentimental fucking bullshit. You know that. Well, so all I have to do is look around and
wait, how would your lunchbox save you from like a long-necked Henrietta lady?
Well, who did she kill like that? Who did she kill like that?
Yeah,
she's just kind of scary.
And she sounds like a monkey.
She's a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Just scares you a little bit.
I live.
Jeff versus the Evil Dead.
As much as it pains you, you found my way out. Thank you.
With that being said,
usually it's the other way around. Like, I'm all in. Oh, come on, you haven't even tried. And yeah, you condemned me to death before it even happened, was it?
With that being said, nighttime is the bright time, and we'll talk to you guys later.